Are you looking for your soul family, those fellow deep sea divers, spiritual seekers where you can talk guides, vibes, oracle cards, all of those fun things? Well, today in this video, I'm going to share with you some grounded tools and practices so that you can find your people and have deep connection, foster and support your intuitive journey, and expand your world. One of the most common questions that I get in my readings and mentoring is, how do I find my fellow spiritual people? I feel isolated and alone. I can't talk about my vibes, my guides with my partner. Sometimes my friends don't get it, and it leaves me feeling isolated and kind of like the odd man out because I don't know how to have conversation about what I'd say is surface things anymore. Well, today we're going to talk about how to find your soul community, your soul family. And it's actually a lot more simple than we often realize. Because the thing is our vibe attracts our tribe. So the very first thing that I really want to say is to recognize and first be yourself. It can be awkward trying to make new friends. And often in our worlds that can be so busy and overwhelming and constantly sipping at us, it can put us into a closed state of mind and give us beliefs like it's hard to make friends. There's nobody out here like me. This is something that I have to do all alone. First, reflect within yourself. Is this a old wound and an old story that you've carried with you? I find that a lot of intuitive empaths suffer from what I call the ugly duck syndrome. And from an age when they were really, really small, always sort of felt like they didn't fit in and like an alien. And that hangover can often affect us into our adult life, where we kind of feel like, I don't totally belong here. But remember, not only do you belong, but there are a lot of other swans out there who are looking for you just as much as you are looking for them. Now, before I go any further, hi, I'm Sonia. I'm a fourth generation intuitive, and I teach you how to plug back into your innate divine self, your intuition. Don't forget to hit the subscribe, that little bell notification, new videos every week. And if you're also looking for your soul community, your people, your fellow deep sea divers, I would really encourage you to join my fall class of Psychic University. It's a month-long live-led course with lessons and homework and really not only community building and fostering a direct relationship with our intuition, but also our people. Because what I know to be true, having grown up in a spiritual family, is we need something called believing eyes. We need our people, especially on our spiritual journey, because there's nothing quite like being like, oh, I had an earth angel today. Let me tell you about my message from my spirit guides. I mean, that is my day-to-day conversation. So, very first, like I said, be yourself. And when I say be yourself, that means that we can talk about our woo-woo stuff. We don't have to hide away what might not fit. We can also use language that can be more accessible. You can say, for example, that I trust my vibes. I've got a vibe on that. You don't need to explain. And also that can bring people into conversation instead of putting ourselves into a closed state of mind of nobody's going to understand or people are going to judge me or X, Y, or Z. Notice how those beliefs already put us into our ego of ourselves against other people, where we have to justify, over-explain, instead of really relaxing into a way of being that works for you. So the more that we can be ourselves, that we can be authentic, which just in my world means you know who you are. And when you know who you are, you know what gifts that you have to share with others. If you struggle with this, a tool that I often tell my clients to practice is write 3 things that you love about yourself, 3 things that you're grateful for, and 3 things that you're proud of for 30 days. This helps to shift our attention from what's not working to what is working, what we know about ourselves, and help to center ourselves in our spirit. And from that place, you're like, wow, I have all of these really wonderful, amazing gifts to share with others. So that brings me to number 2, being open-minded. When I first moved here to New Orleans, it felt like I was in a car accident. I was living in Paris, when traveling with my partner in Thailand, and wound up in New Orleans unexpectedly. And at that time, I worked for myself. I was in an apartment. He is in the music industry, was touring, and I wasn't available for friends. So I spent a lot of time alone. And I kept telling myself, it's so hard to make friends. It's so hard to make friends. It's so hard to make friends. Until all of a sudden, I realized that I was my own worst enemy because I wasn't available to any connections. I wasn't available to new experiences. I wasn't open to new things that might come in. Now, even with our intuition and with making friends, the first thing that we have to do is have an open mind. I'm open to my intuition. I'm open to new connections. I am open to finding my soul fam. That immediately changes our perspective to listening, to availability that helps us be guidable. Second thing, just like with intuition, second rule of trusting your intuition, second rule of making friends is I expect to make friends. I expect to find my soul family. When we put ourselves into an expectant state, first, that brings our conscious mind to really focus and find, almost like there was a book way back in the day called I Spy. And it was a book with, all cluttered images. And you would have to find maybe a trumpet amongst all these things, or where's Waldo? And when we say, okay, I'm going to find Waldo, all of a sudden your attention and energy gets so focused in all of the chaos to find our guy. And it's the same thing when I say I expect to make friends. It's that same thing. All of a sudden, we put our intuition and our spirit into a place of where we're available and where we start to take chances to make friends. I expect to find friends. I expect to find my soul community. Who knows how? Surprise me. Ego intellect often likes to fill in the story of, I know how it's going to go. You have no idea where you might find your people, and they might live next door. Even for myself, when I first moved here and having no friends, I had a good girlfriend from college reach out to me and say, I have a really wonderful person in New Orleans. You should meet her. Turns out that she lived across the hall. And I was like, nah, I'm not available. Paulina, my soul sister, forever. I adore her. And for months and months and months, I had somebody who was wonderful right across the hall from me, but I wasn't available. And it wasn't until she invited me to go have some oysters and a happy hour, and I finally said yes, that all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, this really magical person was right here all along. And I myself wasn't open or expecting to find somebody literally across the hall. So who knows, your neighbor next door that you just wave hi to might be somebody that you have a lot in common with. Now, that same place where we have people all around us, and instead of making assumptions about anyone, this is where we have to open up to expectation or open up to curiosity instead of filling in the blank. So third thing in making friends, and this is really important, is to be generous. This means being generous with your time, your energy, your resources. So for example, if you're at a work gathering or a party or are chatting with somebody somewhere and you find that, you really enjoy their vibe, you're having a really good conversation, we also have to be brave and make the initiative. Say, hey, would you like to grab a cup of coffee? Hey, I've got this really great book that I think you'd enjoy. Hey, I've got this video. And then make the effort. The more generous we are of spirit, that raises our vibration and invites people in. What I found is that my mind can often protect myself creatively from trying to be embarrassed, which can often lead me to feel like shut down or going away, like with Paulina. But when we can be generous and available, all of a sudden that is a connecting force. And you never know what you might think about somebody who's like, they won't get any of this. Maybe they will. Maybe you'll be somebody who can be a teacher and open a doorway that will be a whole new world and experience for them if that resonates. I also would say most importantly is to really take action. The thing that I can also find is like, I'm trying to find my friend, I'm trying to find my community, I'm trying to find my soul tribe, but then we don't do anything. We stay on our couch, we stay on our phones, we get too busy with work and family or whatever it is, our partners, and we don't make time and prioritize having shared experiences. So, for example, meetup.com is a fantastic place, a free resource where you can find groups, clubs, new moon circles, tarot, book, anything that will give you automatically a group of people who share interests with you. And then follow through. Go for that walk. Go show up at the new moon circle. Go make a conversation and be brave. Our ego intellect often confuses what's uncomfortable for what is dangerous. But when we can make friends and befriend the discomfort, befriend that it could feel a little awkward to ask for somebody's number or feel a little awkward when you walk into a room and don't know anyone, that is where we can find not only our grace, but our power. And so for me, whenever I'm in those situations, I often take a really deep breath and just even hand on my heart, hand on my belly. I'll do it all the time. And recognize that there are a lot of other people who are in that same situation as me. Newbies who are also feeling awkward, who are also feeling a bit stressed. And you can, point out like, hey, I really like your earrings. Let it be authentic. And that can be a point of conversation and conversation and connection. So go do something, make it a priority. We can also find online communities like Psychic University of where we can find these social connections that might not be in our backyard, but can be people and places of where we can find that support. So go be brave. For example, for me, one thing that I've done here in New Orleans is take improv, and it's been so fun to have a place where I can play, have a collaborative experience with people, have no attachment to the outcome, that has helped to build my community and even my spiritual community and myself. So go do the thing. You like cooking, go take a cooking class. If you like writing, go join a writing group. And instead of saying you're too busy, take that time, take that hour. That is where you'll find your people. What I've also found is we need one person, and that person can often introduce us to a whole network of people. So instead of having it be a big mountain, so I'm just connect with one person by just sharing myself. And also really important, more than I think the best piece of advice that my dad gave me growing up was be interested instead of being interesting, which means be a good listener. Intuition is an act of deep listening. So when you're in front of somebody, of just being generous, of seeing their spirit, seeing who's in front of them, being curious, asking questions, this is an instant way to build connection with all sorts of different people. Follow up. Don't be on your phone. Don't be thinking about, whether or not, because people surprise you. Like, for example, my neighbor, super surprised right in front of me. So most important, try new things. Try new things. You might find your soul family at a motorcycle rally. You have no idea. But follow and try new experiences, because that opens us up to curiosity, to connection, to community, places that really, really might be something that you've never known. I've had a client of mine found her best friend in class, in her college class. She was like, I was really an introvert, and I sat next to this girl and I started chatting with her. And then all of a sudden now we're like the best of friends. Another one of my clients joined a French conversation group recently, and then they started chatting, and she was like, one of the participants said, oh, I heard that you've lived in Senegal. I have a really good friend who's lived in Senegal, and then connected these two. So it's kind of like monkey bars. And it takes effort. But when we're patient and water that garden, it will grow, because we are community people. And the more that we invest, the more that we'll feel connected, the more that we'll belong, the more that we'll diversify our places of identity, and the more that we'll find surprises. So here are just some of the tools and tips in finding and building your spiritual community. If you're looking for your spiritual community, people, join Psychic University. We start next week, next Wednesday. So today is the 13th. So 1 week from the 13th. I don't know the date. So definitely join. If you have questions, you can email hello@soniatully.com. If you're interested in getting a reading with me, check out my website, soniatully.com. And I love to hear from you. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Check out my family podcast. I've got tons of resources and tools to help you because I'm part of your soul fam. You know, you're here, you're curious, you're engaged in listening. And don't forget that you are a bright, bright light with so many gifts to share. And people are lucky to have you in and around their lives. So I hope you have a beautiful day. Sending you my love. Bye.